Hi there. I think this is the closest to on time I've ever been. Linda K. Gifford. I'm a CSA Survivor. Someone asked me what exactly I survived. I guess I got out of the habit of telling you my story every day. But let me recap. It's the end of the week, and we have been working on the A in my teaching guide, or my trigger management. I hate to call it a guide or a program or whatever. 6 things that if you incorporate them into your daily life will make your life as a CSA survivor much better. Will help you manage your CPTSD and these kind of things. So my story, I allude to it a lot, but my sister was married in high school, pregnant by at least half a dozen years older than her person, more than that, I think, who then began grooming me immediately, befriended me, liked to hang out with me. I had a wonderful family. Nobody in my immediate family ever assaulted me, and I hate the word abuse. I'm going to always switch to assault because it was assault. So he just began, befriending me, and then let's go on a motorcycle ride, and then started playing with my body and making me play with his, and oral sex, and driving me and parking behind the winery in our town or out on a country road. And I was very young, adolescent, and then teen, and it was horrifying, and it was very confusing. And grooming is different from being sexually assaulted in a violent, one-time way. And the reason that grooming is so hard for us to overcome is because most of us come out of it with this deep-seated sense of shame. I did. Shame and guilt. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I didn't leave going, whew, I'm so glad I escaped. I'm so glad I survived my assault for all these years. That's not how it was. I left feeling like a guilty, shameful participant in this horrible thing, and that God didn't love me, and then I decided there wasn't a God, and then I just felt like I was a piece of shit, and I tried to succeed at everything, and actually did. I mean, I was like a straight A student, honor society, first seat flautist, I was on the tumbling team, I was a cheerleader, I won first seat in the state, or first place in the state German prose contest, and I even beat out 8 categories, 8 schools, a bunch of categories, 3 people in each category, and in the only speech meet I've ever done, I won my round, beating our team finalist, who was finalist at state, out of the first round. Then I won mine in prose reading of Death of a Child, how appropriate, and I won the overall gold medal for the entire meet too, in the one and only speech meet I ever did. Point is, not to brag about myself, let's add in I have a genius IQ. My IQ is consistently among the top 10 ever recorded. I have Asperger's syndrome. I have discovered, at least I score incredibly highly on the test when I was diagnosed. And I know there's argument as to whether it exists, but really, I actually, at one time, had a medical coding certification. And the only reason Asperger's has been removed from the American list of things, why they've stopped using the name and started just saying high functioning autistic, is because of money and coding reasons. Because saying that someone had Asperger's was not getting them the same level of help in the areas that they do have problems with as somebody who was autistic. So it became better to lump everybody into autism. But Asperger's syndrome is still in most of the world, it's still just a term used to indicate a person who has autistic tendencies, and what those are just a difference in the way that I process things. I have no penchant for small talk. I am very, if I go in a grocery store, I need to get what I need and get out. Otherwise, I'll get overwhelmed and start to have a breakdown, not mental, but like everything just gets crazy in my head if there's too much color and stuff. I love music, I love dancing, whatever, but rows and rows of little bright things like in a store or fragrances and stuff really affect me. And the reason I bring up the Asperger's and the autism is because there's a huge connection between autistic children and abuse and assault, because it's hard enough when you're a child to understand social norms and read people, but when you're on the spectrum, it becomes very, very strange, difficult, and confusing. I have an itch on my ear today. It's driving me nuts. Oh, by the way, I own feelgoodfairtrade.com, and we're about to hit our 5th anniversary, and I want to announce something we're going to do. I'm going to start giving away a piece of jewelry every week from the people who comment. So if you would like a piece of fair trade jewelry, almost everything I wear is from my store. We've been continuously open for 5 years now, and we support women, family, and community artisans in over 20 countries. We buy collectively and communally with other fair trade retailers, both online and physical. I used to have a store at the local mall here before the pandemic. And then we can ship them in 3 to 5 days. So do support Feel Good Fair Trade, please. But let's get back to what we're here for, which is wrapping up and kind of summarizing what we've been doing this week in learning to ask for what you want and not just take what is given. It sounds, I guess most people probably think they're asking for what they want. And in a sense they are. But the problem is a lot of people are subconsciously asking for less than they really want. And I'm not going to use the word deserve because I don't believe in that word. I think that things are what they are. I don't think anybody deserves more or less than anybody else, and I don't even like the concept of deserve. I believe in equalizing things for people in the world. And beyond that, you do you. And the only way you can do you is to be completely honest. And CSA survivors go into relationships without honesty. We go into them trying to please somebody else. I've seen the common thread. I'm not a therapist, or a licensed therapist at least. I'm not a doctor. I'm a CSA survivor of many, many years of grooming and assault. And I have learned through life and time and 3 marriages and 3 divorces. It took all of that, therapy 20 years ago, therapy again recently, when I had my blackout a couple years ago and started writing my book that started all of this. It's led into coaching and actually helping people and feeling like I'm making a difference in the world. All of that started when I finally realized that there was something I was missing. I thought I had sex down. I'm like, I don't have a sexual problem. I can have sex, whatever. After my 17-year-old son's father and I broke up, the honest truth is I never felt physical attraction for anybody for 14 years. 14 years. And now that I've discovered it, I'm shocked. I'm shocked to discover, and I talked about this at length a couple of days ago, but I'm going to reiterate. I didn't know, and it seems that I now realize most CSA survivors, or at least many, don't know what it's like to truly be intimate with someone beyond the sex act. We think the sex act is intimacy until you get to the point that you actually have examined yourself to the point that you can open up to another person. And the way that happened for me was realizing that I was drawn to somebody, that I was drawn to their presence, their pheromones, their whatever, that I physically wanted them to touch me. Now, in the past, right, I've been married and divorced 3 times, right? I wanted a relationship, but I can't honestly say I wanted them to touch me. I can't say I physically had a reaction to them, but rather that I was playing a part. And that is what other CSA survivors are doing too. We're playing parts and we don't even know it. I guess you're not playing a part. I was honest in my marriages. It's like, I thought that was as deep as it got. I thought that's what love was. I thought that's what sex was. But sexual intimacy, and that's what we're going to focus on today on the final day of asking for what you want. Everything we've been talking about this week has been leading up to sexual intimacy and why it's so important and what the consequences are if you don't learn to ask for what you want. The main consequence is just living a partial life. So many people on this planet, and religion, the part of religion that's bad, there's good religion, and then there's hijacked religion that got hijacked by power. The part of your religion that focuses on goodness and kindness and mercy, I'm all about that, whatever it is, whatever your religion is. But most religions also got hijacked by power a long time ago, and there's that element of control, and you have to do this, and you have to believe this, and we're going to tell you how it is, and if you're not, you're going to go to hell, and all this crazy ass stuff that makes no sense, right? But people are so bound to it that they don't even understand what belief is, and I talked about that at length for the last 2 days. So please do go watch those live streams. They are on YouTube. I load all of these to YouTube afterwards because TikTok doesn't save them. And then I chop up my live streams into bites and put them on YouTube. On TikTok. In 1 to 3 minute bites, because that's how it works. So, sexual intimacy, how do I even explain? It is possible to, during the physical act of sex, form a mental and emotional joining that makes you forget that you're even separate people, that you're human, it's a great stress reliever, and some people use sex and they say that sex is an intimacy, it's a relationship builder. We'll build a closer relationship through sex, and I throw that out the window. If you don't feel like being with somebody sexually, you should not be. You should not be making yourself have sex with somebody that you are not attracted to. You should not be fulfilling someone else's role for you. You should not be learning tricks to try to make them happy. If you are not drawn to it in such a way that there's nowhere in the world that you would rather be than, pardon my crudeness, sucking that dick right now, or fucking that person, or making them happy sexually, if you don't feel incredible desire, then you shouldn't be doing it. And if you don't feel that for the person you're with, you shouldn't be with them. And most marriages on this planet are arranged or forced or coerced. In other countries, some people will sell their daughter to their rapist because they're ruined. What are they going to do with them anyway? In some cultures, and I talked at length yesterday about not respecting other people's cultures. Do not respect any culture that disparages or marginalizes another human being. That is not culture. That is a cop-out, and that is an excuse. So the Maasai tribe, for instance, in Africa, I'm going to use them as a for instance. I saw an interview with a woman, and she was feeling sorry for all of us because we don't have sister wives. And when asked why, she explained. She was traded for a cow, maybe a couple, maybe even a goat and a chicken. Ooh, high-priced bride. She's traded for a cow to a much older man who took her way out in the middle of the woods, which is what they do, where he had his, what's it called? It starts with a B. I can't remember. And she was all alone, and he would go away for periods of time, come back, fuck her. She had babies. She was all alone, taking care of everything. So he came back with another wife, and she's like, I was so happy. It's like, it wasn't anything about the emotional relationship. It wasn't anything about having a marriage. It was, I'm happy. And you guys should want sister wives too, because that sister wife came in and she helped me with the work, and she took some of the raping, and then she made babies, and we had someone to talk to when he was gone most of the time. And then when he came back with a third wife, they were both thrilled because now they had someone else to participate in the raping, And I'm not going to call it sex in a marriage, because it's not a marriage if you were forced to marry someone against your will that you did not want. And even if you didn't fight back because you didn't have a choice, that's not culture. It may be part of someone's culture, but that doesn't excuse it. And we have to change things for women in this world. Okay, I get really angry. That is why I founded the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. And I need you to support it. I need you to give your gifts. I need you to join the subscription that will be up by Monday. And I'll give you information on how to then. $5 a month. If everyone gets $5 a month, think of all the people we can help. And right now we have a refugee crisis for obvious reasons. We already had one. And we have a human trafficking crisis that goes hand in hand, because whenever there are refugees, there are predators. So many men on this planet believe that they have the right to submit women, to make them submissive, to do whatever the hell they want. It's even legal in some Middle Eastern countries to marry your stepdaughter. So if you marry another woman, whatever, you marry a woman and you like her daughter, you can marry her. And I mean, if she's 10 or 11, you can marry her and you can fuck her as soon as she has a period. And that is not okay. So if you want to argue with me, and I have had these arguments on Quora and Reddit and Facebook and whatnot about it's their culture and you need to respect their culture. It's like, if they were making those decisions, that'd be different. But when the men in the culture make the rules, and the rules don't include happiness, joy, self-determination, education for women, then fuck them. Fuck them. Help me, please. Help me get victims of sexual assault and trafficking to somewhere safe so they can become survivors like us. Like I said, actually, let me rephrase that. I always like to tell you what people say to me because it makes me think about things. I'm just new to this whole live streaming thing, and I was told, well, you get too emotional. That is not something I cannot do. And they say, well, you're obviously not capable of helping anybody because you're not over it, someone told me. And it's like, over it isn't a thing. Learning to have a joyous, wonderful life is, and the E in my Spades trigger management program is educate and advocate. And that's not just about saving the world, that's about saving myself and yourself. So if you will educate and advocate, you will be able to stop thinking about it all yourself and stop feeling sorry for yourself. I'm pissed off about what happened to me. I am. But I will not spend my life sacrificing my current and future joy feeling sorry for myself. That being said, I will be overcome with emotion. Always. And I would have been that even if I wasn't a CSA survivor. I cry on diaper commercials. It's just who I am. I love my emotions. And if you have the choice, don't let them medicate your emotions away. CSA survivors don't need medicated. And the problem with medication also is that it takes away your sex drive. Now you're not even going to have a chance to find out if you're attracted to somebody for real. And real attraction doesn't mean dad likes him. Real attraction isn't I like his clothes, or he's got a nice car, or he's got a job that can support me. I know I'll be secure. Real attraction is I want to fuck you. Whether that, this is not man, woman, woman, man. This is people, people, person to person. If you don't want to be physically intimate on some level with this person, then you are not in a marriage. And I get really angry when people try to tell me that there's all kinds of marriages. It's like, well, if you count legal ones, yes. I don't have any stock in legal marriages, except I would do it for the insurance with somebody I really loved, right? But other than that, it's a piece of paper. When I get married again, if I do, I mean, I'm already married, to tell you the truth, in my own mind, because that's my point. The commitment to my partner is the same as the important parts of a marriage. A legal certificate is a binding deal. It's a backup in case things go wrong, right? It's a social safety net. Marriage is a social safety net. It's become that. Don't let it be that. I'm not saying it's not okay to have that. Legal marriage is fine if it suits your purpose. If it's a tax advantage or an insurance advantage, sure, get legally married. But by all means, I believe in marriage. And marriage is the only person you should be marrying is somebody you want to spend your time with, that you are attracted to on a chemical level. And I reiterate, I don't care if your penis works or if you're a paraplegic or whatever. It's not about the act of intercourse, obviously. We have lots of genders in love with lots of genders. And many of them are two non-penis people. And there's all kinds of ways to be intimate, because I'll use myself as an example, because of the true attraction and bond I have with my partner that I've never knew was possible before. I would happily push his wheelchair for the rest of my life if we could never have intercourse again. Because the intimacy can't be killed, because it's honest. It's based on real, honest, mutual attraction. And what I see in marriages and partnerships in everywhere, it's worse in most parts of the world. And in America, we're supposed to have it better than most, and it's still terrible. Because most people are treating marriage as a social construct, or they're looking for a step up in life, or they're making somebody else in their family happy. That's no reason. And when you do that, you're not being honest. And how in the world are you ever going to have true, intimate joy if your whole partnership or marriage is based on an exchange of goods and services? And it seems to me that's what most marriages are. So I just wanted to clarify for those who think I'm anti-marriage. No, I'm not at all. My marriage, should I marry officially, doesn't need a legal piece of paper. My marriage is my decision and my partner's decision. We're going to be together now. We're a thing. We're a couple. That's the marriage. The rest of it is paperwork. And having been divorced 3 times, it's not fun. And another one I wanted to clarify. Someone's like, oh, you're living on all that child support. I have 3 children and I never got child support. Not for more than a very brief period early on with my 3rd child. Yeah, so no. Because I'm a CSA survivor. I marry narcissists. I married people that they looked like somebody acceptable to me, and I looked like somebody acceptable to them, and I'm a musician and a singer-songwriter, so we were always people that were in the public light. The first 2 marriages, there were fellow musicians, and it was all this hippie-trippy thing, but the true basis of a marriage was not there. The first time. The first marriage was, I sabotaged my first marriage by not being honest. And that is part of this whole thing, asking for what you want. I didn't ask for what I wanted. I didn't even know I wanted anything. All I ever wanted was to be good enough. I just wanted him not to leave me. I just wanted him to think that I wasn't gross and vile, because to me, I always started at the point of, I'm a guilty, shameful, horrible person. And it didn't matter how many people packed in to see my band, and it didn't matter how skinny I was or how cool of clothes I wore. It didn't matter that I had straight A's when I was in school. None of that made me ever feel like less than a piece of shit in the world. And that is why I am doing this now. Because CSA survivors need to know that nothing that was ever done to them was their fault, and that they can move on. They can move on. But you have to understand that you dissociated, and that's the P in spades. We're doing a letter every week, 5 days a week. So we've done S, the shame is not yours, and P, separate the past from the present. And that's the dissociation. Dissociation, I could just endlessly talk about dissociation, probably till my last breath, and never be done talking about dissociation, because it was such a useful thing when we were children. But what you may not understand, and I want you to hear me, I want you to listen, okay? The science, this is science. This isn't somebody's pulling out of my ass thing, or just my particular therapist or whatever. Science shows that your brain did not grow as many connections when you were a child being assaulted in order to protect you. Therefore, your memory and your associative skills are not the average humans. And that can make you feel scared. It made me feel scared at first. It made me worry that I'd never be normal and I'd never be okay. No one would ever love me. So I have learned, and I want to teach you, to take these things that have been considered negative. And if you're at this point that you're listening to me, you've been doing some reading, you've been doing your research, and so I know you know what I'm talking about. That it's mostly presented in a negative light. Oh, CSA survivors, they dissociate. And then they're like, oh, but it wasn't your fault. It was a good thing. It was a good thing. But then they still don't offer something positive. You know, the silver lining. And my therapist taught me, and it was a really weird request. I remember the first time she asked me to think about my childhood grooming and assaults and find something good that came out of it. And I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Are you freaking crazy? But I did come up with a small list of what good came out of it. And I have been expounding on that while writing my book, realizing, wow, this dissociation thing, how about instead of telling CSA survivors that, why did they call 3 times and hang up? Okay, anyway, back to dissociation, because they haven't called yet. Maybe we're clear. I now look at my dissociative skills as something that I can use to make my life better, to be more honest. I can kick people out of my life that don't make me happy. I can shut a door and never look back like nobody's business. I mean, hell, I could lay down and get fucked and pretend it wasn't happening. Imagine what else I can do. So there's a silver lining, maybe, kind of, sort of. But whatever, it is what it is. You dissociate. So you might as well get a grip on it and stop doing it when you don't want to and turn it into a tool. You get control of your dissociation and now use it. I don't think you can get rid of it. There are things you can and should do that I do myself. I went through an intensive cognitive behavioral therapy, a trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which from now on in this live stream I will call TF-CBT because it's a mouthful. I did an intensive 3-week program with it, over 3 weeks actually, in January, or December, January. And I will tell you that it made me realize, because at first I thought my therapist was like nuts and this is going to be too painful and whatever. She's like, I want you to draw why you feel like a piece of shit in the world. And I showed these to people last week. I'm going to show you again. And this is a trigger warning because this is harsh stuff. But I want you to understand what I mean. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is the act of thinking about what happened to you, thinking about your trauma, whatever it was. It doesn't even have to be sexual assault. Whatever your trauma is that gives you the CPTSD or the PTSD. The C just means complex, and it's generally attached to those of us who had it happen at such a young age that it actually changed the way our brains developed. And so we have particular challenges there. Over people with PTSD, which is challenging enough. But what we all have in common, PTSD or CPTSD, is that we will be hit out of the blue or from a trigger, and it may be, usually it's a trigger we don't even realize. It can be a smell, it can be an aftershave, it can be a sound, it can be a silence, it can be nothing, just comes because memories like that, and you get flashes. And suddenly you're in the past. Suddenly, not you're in the past, it's there. You're in two places. You're here and you're there. And at that moment, when a person gets into a full-blown CPTSD event, they become what I call, they jump in the rabbit hole of crazy, because it's a relief. It's a stress, it's a pain reliever to lose it. Your mind feels like it's going to explode. And when I tell people my mind, because I have Asperger's, I'm on a high-functioning autistic. When I tell my children, I feel like my brain is going to explode. No offense, but I must remove myself. I mean, I feel like my brain is going to explode for real. I don't mean it figuratively. It feels like it's about to short circuit. And that is something that's prevalent in my CPTSD experiences too. Until I learned, and this still happens, it happens almost every day, if not multiple times. I'll start to get that CPTSD event. I'll feel the past coming on. And in the past, I would have done something, like I stopped myself from thinking about it, but the only way I could really stop myself from thinking about it would then be go and get alcohol, get drunk, right? So I was like your secret drunk. I was that person always drinking but never drunk. And at times, and not in public, I don't like to be a public drunk, but at times when I was at home, I would have to drink myself to pass out. Just because it's fighting, you're trying to not think about it, right? So, that sucks. That's no way to live. And though I'm still overrun with the CPTSD at moments, it's only a few moments, because now from doing the TFCBT, I have transferred these jumbled memories, sight, smell, sounds, touches, these memories. I've taken them, I've put them on paper. I've written a book. I have written songs. I drew pictures. And in doing so, I did a left brain activity. And your left brain, I'm going to leave out the technical terms because it's more than anybody needs to know. Read Oprah Winfrey and God, I can never remember his name's book. Bruce D. Perry, Dr. Bruce D. Perry and Oprah Winfrey's book, What Happened to You? Everyone on this planet needs to read this book. They really do. But for our purposes, for the layman's purposes, I'm going to call it right brain and left brain. Right brain being the creative, the experiences things in, tactilely and physically and with your senses. And the left side is the one that says, I look at what I am experiencing. I think I'll think about that too. Let me add history and everything I've ever learned. Let me factor in the news and anthropology. The left brain puts it together and makes a memory. So by doing TFCBT, which is what this is, I made a memory. So back to, what does being a piece of shit in the world look like to me? Well, this is why I was convinced that I am a piece of shit, evidently, because I didn't know what I was going to draw, and I told her, I have no idea. So I sat there with pastel and paper, and I was like, okay, I feel like a piece of shit because I liked him, because he was nice to me. I adored him in the early years, He was my brother-in-law, but he was fun. He was my niece and nephew's dad. I was the main babysitter, At first, I thought he was nothing but nice. He'd work on his car, his Camaro, with the spoiler under the carport next to the house. And this me just being all happy, hey. And he's calling me sexy because that was his nickname for me. It should have been a red flag. So then I was like, okay, now what do I draw? And what came to mind was, okay, I wrote a song many years ago that's on my CD at lindagifford.com. purchases go to Sweet Survivor, so please do buy it. It's 99 cents for a little girl on the store page, lindagifford.com. Or you can buy the whole thing for $10. But anyway, it says grape juice and gin. And one of my songs, it's grape juice and gin, kitty cocktails again. Watch the pretty little doll's head spin. I'm like, okay, I'll draw that. So I drew us sitting at the kitchen table, and I didn't realize until examining it later with my therapist that I drew like a weirdly adult face that looks like a mask on her, on me. And there's my assaulter and his buddy, I don't even know who that was, getting me drunk as an adolescent. And I felt bad about that. And I wrote how it made me feel. I'm dizzy and I can't stop laughing. Yes, I want to go driving because you drive off-road. It's fun. So it was always like, hey, let's go driving. Well, those drives turned into sex. Those drives turned into oral sex. And that's what my next memory was. This is a trigger warning. If you've got problems with this, then go away now. Because I'm just leading you down the path that it led me down. So I drew a picture of him sucking on my breast, and I said, I don't want to do this. It does not feel good. And he's saying, that feels good, doesn't it? And it's like, no, but I also didn't fight. There's the shame, there's the guilt. I just started dissociating. Why didn't I fight? Why didn't I say anything? This is why we have to educate and advocate. When people ask me why I didn't tell, all I can say is, it never even occurred to me. It never once occurred to me to tell. I was part of this guilty shame thing. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be in it. I wasn't happy. I wasn't getting sexually happy out of it. Nothing like that. But I still knew what I was doing was not okay. And I hated myself. And I thought God hated me. And I would go sit in the bathroom. I still do. At times when I'm really distressed, I sit on the bathroom floor. I've even slept there. And I've also woken up there, and I don't know how I got there in the distant past before I got a grip on all this and learned to dissociate for good, not evil. That's why I'm telling you, you can use dissociation to cut the negativity out of your life. And I'm going to move on to talking about manifesting reality and beliefs like we have been for the last 2 days. But so the next one is him with his fingers in my pants. That's the next thing that came to my mind, is he's in my pants. I said, I hate it when he puts his fingers inside me, but he says I like it, and he won't stop. So that led to the memory of being obviously what he was leading up to the whole time, which was getting me to suck his dick, because he's perv, you know. And now I'm told by my niece, his daughter, to leave it alone. She didn't want to hear about it. I finally told her about it just this last week. Told her she needs to protect her daughter. And she's like, he's been nothing, you know, thank you for sharing, but he's been nothing but a hard worker and a great father and grandfather to. And I'm like, he took a girl barely out of high school to her high school graduation. That's what I remember. So I think that she must have a clue. But the point is, the people in your life want you to sweep it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. It's treated as an embarrassment. It's more embarrassing to be raped than to be a rapist. Why? Is it because in most of the world, women have no say, no nothing, that if you're raped, your dad just demands money and gives it to the guy? Is it because in parts of the world you can fuck your stepdaughter, marry her if you want, if she thinks she's cute and she's 12? I mean, is it because the world has been set up, the modern world at least has been set up by patriarchal bullshit? I mean, there have been societies where women were respected and equal, and even the rulers in the past, the Essenes, for example. Read the Essene, or Essene, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Gospel of Truth. For whatever reason, this is bullshit. thinking you have to hide it, thinking that you'll destroy your family. It's like, how about somebody in your family destroyed you? And destroy is a strong word. So I want to take that, I want to backtrack. I want to walk back out of that one, as they say these days. And we'll walk it back. You are not destroyed. You are not your body. Your body contains you. You're a soul. You're an energy. I died when I was 17 briefly, or at least I stopped breathing long enough to leave my body, see myself from the top of the room, see everybody trying to revive me, leave, felt like I was being thrown through shattered glass. I was in a place that was dark and light. This is why it's hard for people to describe. Go down a dark tunnel, there's a bright light. Kinda. It is kind of like that. But what it was, if it was the death throes, it was wholly pleasant. My spirit, some kind of spirit things in not really bodies, but I still could feel. They were like pure energy sources that I could tell where they were around me. And they kind of had form, but more like in the way that I said I can sense my partner's pheromones, I could sense them. And the light was there, but it was more like a backdrop, not a glaring light I was going to race into. And I knew in that moment that they gave me, they wouldn't use words, but they put it in my head, I had the choice to stay or go back. And I chose to go back, and it was hard. But the 4 minutes I wasn't breathing was like a half an hour in this place. And during that whole time, I never lost sight of who I was, where I came from, what I'd been through in life, the good and the bad. I didn't lose my sense of self. So if that's any reassurance to anybody who may be approaching passing themselves, this is just one part of life, this human experience. I'm absolutely convinced. But I'm not going to get all trippy on you. I don't want to tell you what to believe, but I do want to tell you what belief, for our purposes as CSA survivors, should be defined as. Because belief is not something that it's not, we're used to, as I said yesterday, we're used to people telling us, okay, you're part of this religion, and this happened, and God did this, and whatever, and parted this, and raised that, and burned that, and sent the you-know-whats to the you-know-whos, and believe it. And you're like, really? All right, kind of. That's not what I mean. I mean, belief is a tool that you must use. And if you don't believe in what you want, if you don't ask for it and believe in it, how will you ever get it? So belief isn't a rule book. It's not trying to swallow what somebody else tells you you're supposed to do. Belief really is a tool that you should utilize to get where you want to go in life, to have what you want in life, to be honest in life. Believe in your ability to tell the truth. Believe in your ability to make it without marrying that rich guy. Believe in your ability to defy your father and run away and not be in an arranged marriage. Believe that you will be believed if you tell the truth and stop your assaulter. Believe that you can make a better life for yourself, or you won't go back to school or to pursue that. And like I was saying yesterday, at the end of the path that you want to go is that thing, that place you want to be. But that doesn't mean you're going to see the path. You may only see the next step in front of you. You may be lucky enough to have 2 steps, and then you get to make a choice. And that's where people get hung up a lot too. What do I choose? Choose the next right step. Every good path, as I said yesterday, every trail I've been on, I didn't see the end before I got there, but I trusted I was going to like it. I just made the decision. I'm going to take this path. I'm going to hike up that mountain. I'm going to do it until I get to the top. Well, make your life like that, okay? You can do that. So this cognitive behavioral therapy, it goes on. You can see that what I did in drawing these pictures, I let my mind wander places that I usually suppress. Usually, if I have any memory of what happened to me, I just try not to at all costs because it's too painful. But the pain has lessened tremendously now, because now that I've created actual memories, I can examine it like a rational adult and stop regressing back to my childhood every time something triggers me. And I want that for you too. I want that for you too. Oh, this is hematite. I'm not a crystal person, but I'm not. You know what I mean? I like the way it feels. They say it's centering. I think of this like religion, okay? Does the hematite really have the powers they say? Doesn't matter. I will symbolically attach to whatever I want to. And that's what religion does. That's what the symbolism in religion is. And that's why, obviously, it differs place to place. And it's so goddamn stupid. Everyone's arguing about whose religion is right. It developed in different parts of the world and different cultures. What are the chances we'd come up with the same rituals? But the basis of every religion before it got hijacked by power was love and goodness and kindness. Society, bringing people together, trying to understand death without fear. You know, religion is a way to try to describe all of the non-physical that happens and even the physical, I suppose, that happens in our lives. And religion is a way to try to, initially it was. And that's the good part of religion. And that's why I never tell anyone you need to give up your religion. But what you do need to do is examine your religion, just like I said, to examine your own thoughts and your own memories. Examine your religion for what part of this is culturally based ritual and what part of it is actually a spiritual, emotional thing that I truly know is real. And what it always comes down to is love, goodness, kindness, taking care of other people. That's what at least monotheistic religions are about. So, throw out the negative and accept the positive. And that is what manifesting reality is all about. And that's what I'm leading to here. Manifesting, now we're up to yesterday and the day before. Manifesting feels really daunting to people because they're like, it's like creating. Manifest kind of is a synonym to creation, to creating, to something materializing. And that sounds, most people find that very hard to understand. How am I supposed to manifest reality? What? I'm just supposed to scoop it out of the air? What? Manifest freaking what? It's confusing. So I realized in writing that I think a better way to think about it and talk about it is that think of manifesting as removing. We're all good at throwing stuff away, right? Clothes, old food, the vegetable drawer, people we don't want to associate with. So to manifest what you want, think of it as an act of removal instead of an act of creation. Because in removing the things you don't like, you see a red flag in this job, find another one. You see a red flag in this career, work towards another one. You see a red flag, your partner doesn't like puppies, your partner kicks puppies, or whatever. Bye-bye. Now, once you start tossing out of your life, your view, this place right here, this is where we're going, okay? Pretend the carrot's on the cart and we're pointing the cart in the direction we want. And now, if anybody doesn't fit that's in our life, they're standing in our way, blocking our cart, get them the fuck out of your way. Get them gone. Bye-bye. And all that's going to be left in your picture at the end of this process is what you want, what's real, what you like. The only partner that can live under the circumstances where you're totally honest and you're demanding that you have what you want. And you're also, that doesn't mean don't be giving and loving. It just means you have to start at the point of true affection and attraction and emotion with another human being, whether they're a lover or a friend. And if you're having to force any of those things, that's not real for you or them. You're playing a game. Stop playing that game. Kick that out of there too. The only person, the only partner, the only job, the only religion, the only thing that can last, that can stand in the face of you throwing out what you don't agree with, what you do not like, the only thing that's left that can stand is what you do. Get it? It's really easy. Manifesting is simply the act of rejecting what you don't want until all that's left in your picture is what you do. So back to the top, and what I always say I'm going to end, but then I usually go for another 20 minutes, so we'll see. What I'm going to potentially maybe end on is, I want to reiterate, belief is not something that you have to try to do. Belief should come naturally. Belief should be a tool. I guess CSA Survivor is thinking about what I just said. I suppose you may have to force yourself to follow what I'm calling belief, what true belief is. You might have to force yourself to believe in yourself. But what's going to happen if you don't? I mean, what's left? If you don't try to go get what you want, if you do accept like a physical relationship with someone that you're not feeling pleasure in, if you're just happy that you completed the sex act and they're happy and they got off, but you didn't, you're missing one of life's biggest gifts. I was married and divorced 3 times, and I missed, until this partner, I missed the life experience while I'm in this body of being able to merge with another human being on such an intimate level, because I want to. Anybody can put their body inside yours. I've been raped multiple times, hundreds of times by the same person, and a couple of others that he involved in it when I was a child. And you know what? The act of sex itself is not intimacy. So if you think you're being intimate because you're having sex, you're not, unless the reason you're having sex is because you are chemically drawn into the situation, emotionally, chemically, truly full of desire and want to be with that person. And then it's a beautiful, amazing, amazing thing. And you're probably like, some of you, but Linda, I do love my partner, and I think we have good sex and whatever. I'm not orgasmic. I get this all the time. Not orgasmic, but then they like to quote magazines. But most women aren't. And it's like, that's true. 60 to 80% of women have never had an orgasm. Most women do not self-pleasure. I'm the masturbation queen. I can't even imagine a day without at least one orgasm, just for stress relief, if nothing else. But when you have that with a partner simultaneously that you're in this emotional bond with, it's something that's beautiful, and I want you to experience that. And I know from my own experience that the only way that's going to happen for you is if you're brutally honest. So ask for what you want, okay? Don't be afraid. If you're rejected, good. Really, if you're rejected by the person you're scared will reject you, consider it learning. Yeah, it's like Thomas Edison and the light bulb, right? Go into every situation not expecting the outcome you want, but not thinking it won't happen either. I'm all about believing and manifesting. But don't force yourself to mold to make a situation work. That's what most of the people I know in marriages are doing. They're trying to mold to make this person happen. Mold. And then there's that rare couple that we all go, oh, what is it? Look at the way they look at each other. Look at that spark. Gosh, I wonder what that's like. I wish I had that. And I'm almost embarrassed to say, no, I do. And it's life-changing. And I want to help other people change their lives too. So that's where we went. Next week, we're going to move on to the D in spades. Don't wait to feel okay to be okay. So a little precursor on that. Let me get over my chair. A little precursor on, no, don't wait to be okay. To feel okay to be okay, rather. I'm going to kind of reiterate some of the things that play into this that we've discussed at length over the last week. CSA survivors generally are waiting for the day they feel normal. So I want you to understand this right now. Nobody's normal. There's no normal. But within the subgroup of humans that are CSA survivors, you are normal. That being said, there's room for improvement in your life, isn't there? Or you wouldn't be sitting here listening to me still. So, you'll be told you can't move on unless you forgive. I'm here to tell you again, that's bullshit. I will never forgive my abuser, my assaulter. That doesn't mean I hate him with a vengeance either. And I also can even factor in and lay guilt on everyone in society who continues not realizing the damage they're doing using terms like my first husband. I said I sabotaged the marriage. That's because he called me little girl. When we had sex, it's like he baby talked and he called me little girl, and I felt like I didn't realize it then. I just knew that there was something wrong, something really wrong. And now that I've done my work and my therapy over the years, I realized that what was wrong was that I always felt like a child in the relationship, and that made me regress so that I could not join with him sexually. So every time I was having sex with him, it was, and I'm so sorry to say this because he's a great, wonderful, very sweet, nice person. And I was like, he didn't deserve my lack of honesty. And had I been honest with him, maybe we could have worked it out. Maybe I could have, I don't regret the breakup either. He's very happy. I'm very happy. I'm just saying, at least the marriage should have been given the chance to work itself out with honesty, one way or the other. At least he should have been given the opportunity to understand my particular challenges as my husband and know the way I was feeling instead of me pretending to be okay when I wasn't during the most intimate act of our life, having sex with each other. So if there's one thing that you take away from asking for what you want, besides, of course, creating and manifesting a better future for you and believing in yourself, it all starts with honesty. You can't be honest with another person. You can't give them your all if you're playing a part. If at any point in your relationship, what you're doing doesn't feel real to you, but you're just trying to make them happy. That being said, I love to make people happy. That doesn't mean, in no way does that mean you don't. Obviously, I want to pleasure my partner. I want to feed them. I want to do nice things. I want to make them feel good. I love to do things for people, but not at the expense of doing good things for me, because I have to start with me. They say you have to love yourself first before you can love someone else. I'll agree with that. Very hard thing to do when you've spent decades or years or decades lost in shame and guilt and shoveling it down and swallowing it, and in a society that doesn't want you to talk about it to the point that you may not even know that that is what your problem is. But once you examine and figure out what your problem is, you can solve it. You can solve it. You can manage it. So I'm really excited. I'm working on my manuscript, and these live streams are really me working out my manuscript too, the final stages of putting it all together. I've got 3 books worth written, and what I'm doing now is by doing these 5-day a week, spending a whole week, 5 days, on each letter, it's allowing me to break it down and formulate the order of the stacks. It's like, is your book written? I'm like, well, yes and no. It's like, here's the stacks of paper. Here's a napkin. Here's a little piece of Kleenex. Here's a piece of the floor mat from the car dealership I tore off to write. You know, I've got like stuff written everywhere. I always have a notebook. I write in the middle of the night. I was writing at 5 this morning. If I can't sleep, I write. I write till 2 and I'm up at 5. That's another thing about those of us who have Asperger's. We don't sleep a lot. Nor do CSA survivors often, because we can be very hypervigilant. So if you have sleep problems, that's something that we're going to address too. But not today. I have no idea what time it is or how long I've been talking to you, but it seems like, oh my gosh, the sun came out. So you see my little window? My window around the world. One of my homes. We have a home in Kansas City. And this home I will be leaving. My son graduates from college in May. Yay! My other son, here, he has his own apartment though. And my other son, 17, is moving with me after the graduation. We'll start heading that way. And I'm really excited. All my Lawrence friends, oh my gosh. I've got to say, I've got friends all over the world now. But I still have more heart friends in Lawrence, Kansas than on anywhere in this planet. More people that, although we've lost touch, that I have felt the tightest bond and connection to. And I'm really excited about getting back. Very excited. So don't forget to ask for what you want. Do know that the only thing you have to believe in is belief. Use it. It's a tool. Manifest reality, but not by trying to do the daunting act of creation. Do it by removing. Remove until all that's left. You have now manifested a world full of full of a great place for you. You, the particular you that you are. Okay? You don't have to want what everybody else wants. You don't have to like what everybody else likes. Be whatever gender you feel like. Do whatever the hell you want, as long as it's within the obvious, decent boundaries of not hurting anybody else. And the way you can do that is by insisting on brutal... Take that away. Not brutal. That's a stupid word. On, what's the opposite of brutal? On exquisite honesty. On life-affirming honesty. On self-affirming honesty. I don't know. I'm going to work on that. I see a chapter coming on. So I'll be back on Monday. I will talk to you then. Please, we need help. We need money. Please leave gifts. Please support the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. And by Monday, I'm going to be announcing to you where you can start a $5 a month subscription for the price of a cup of coffee. Like to say, for the price of a cup of coffee, collectively, in a month, we can make a huge difference in people's lives. Right now, I want you all to go to feelgoodfairtrade.com and buy something. You'll have it in 3 to 5 days. And it will support an artisan. Most of the companies we deal with and the products I specifically promote are from women and others who are being rescued from sex work in impoverished communities. We also buy from women business owners. Most of actually all of our African artisans, and there are many, are business owners. And this is from Brass Images. I believe they're in Penberthy, South Africa. These, where did I get these? I think these were served from Indonesia. They're little square cubey beads. This is hematite. I like hematite. Brass Images. Here's the deal though. People are like, why don't you tag your products? It's like, because they change very fast. The people who make our products aren't working in factories. They're working in their homes and their workshops, many of whom don't even have electricity. And they're making beautiful works of art, carving soapstone. They're doing it often with traditional methods. We have beautiful cloth tapestries, soapstone sculptures, tons of jewelry. I don't do clothes because they're too much of a return. I had them in my store, and I do have a few things going up on Facebook Marketplace today and tomorrow that I need to sell off. I'm selling all the last of my physical merchandise as well as everything in my home. So if you are local, please come get it. Open house. Open house. This weekend, I want everything possible out of my home that I'm not taking with me. And that's just about everything. So, do good in the world. Start by doing good with you, for you. Okay? I do love you. I don't know you. And if I knew you, there's a chance I might not love you. I'm one of those people that I love everybody until I don't. I want every human to have an equal footing. If you're on an equal footing, then I'll make my decisions about if I want to get along with you, if I want to hang out with you. But everybody, whether they're my type or not, deserves food, water, shelter, medicine. That's why society came together in the first place. We should take care of each other. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Do take care of other people and do support the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. I'm just getting it off the ground. You will be an angel subscriber should you subscribe this week, and you'll be one of the first people. And I started to say, from now on, every week I'm going to send a piece of jewelry that I'm wearing to somebody. These earrings, I'm going to send them to somebody. I'm going to go into the comments, and we will randomly draw from the comments somebody to receive something that I've got on. I'm rocking my space bun today. I always feel like I'm connecting to the mothership. I'll talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend. Okay.